Sometimes, the quietest places hide the loudest secrets. Tucked away on the edge of a sleepy rural town sat a small, weathered farmhouse owned by a single mother named Claire. To anyone passing by, it looked ordinary, just a lonely stretch of land, a few chickens, and a modest garden. But one summer evening, trouble rolled in like a thundercloud. A group of local bullies, backed by an overly aggressive homeowners association, decided Claire's farm didn't fit their vision of a perfect community. They thought she was weak, defenseless, easy to intimidate. What they didn't know was that Claire wasn't just any single mom trying to raise her son in peace. She carried a past so dangerous, so deeply buried, that crossing her would be the last mistake anyone could make. For weeks, the tension brewed quietly, like a storm gathering on the horizon. Claire tried to ignore the threatening HOA letters that arrived in her mailbox almost daily. Bold, red-stamped warnings demanding she clean up her property, or face fines she couldn't possibly afford. She kept her head down, hoping they would eventually move on, but the bullies only grew bolder. Late at night, strange tire tracks appeared on her driveway. Her chicken coop gate was left open, spooking the hens. Empty beer bottles showed up along her fence line. Claire said nothing, but she noticed everything. What no one in the neighborhood knew, not the HOA president, not the loudest bullies, not even her closest neighbors, was that Claire was no stranger to hostile territory. Years ago, before becoming a mother, she served in one of the U.S. Army's most elite units as a Green Beret sniper. She had seen combat in places she would never talk about. She had learned patience, precision, and above all, restraint. But as the days passed, and the harassment escalated, the instincts she had buried deep inside began to resurface. Then came the night that changed everything. A group of 4 men from the HOA's security committee, self-appointed enforcers who thought they owned the neighborhood, showed up on Claire's property after dark. They laughed as they banged on her door, shouting insults and threats, trying to scare her into submission. Inside, Claire stood silently by the window, her hands steady, her breathing calm. She didn't grab a weapon. She didn't shout back. She simply watched, calculating every detail, their faces, their voices, the way they moved. For now, she chose not to act. But they had no idea they had just crossed a line they would soon regret. By the following weekend, the harassment reached a boiling point. The HOA had posted an official notice on Claire's gate, threatening her with $10,000 in fines and possible eviction if she didn't comply with their demands. But that wasn't enough for the bullies. They wanted to humiliate her publicly. On Saturday evening, while Claire and her 8-year-old son, Ethan, were having dinner, the sound of laughter erupted outside. She looked out the window to see the same group of men spray painting farm trash across her fence while recording it on their phones for social media. Ethan's wide, tear-filled eyes locked on hers. And in that moment, something deep inside Claire shifted. Years of discipline, training, and restraint came flooding back like muscle memory. The Green Beret sniper in her, the one she had buried, was awake again. She opened the door and stepped outside, calm but unshakable. Her voice was low, steady, almost chilling as she said, "You've got exactly 5 seconds to leave my property." The men froze, caught off guard by her composure. One of them, a tall man with a smug grin, stepped forward anyway. "Or what?" he sneered, raising his spray can like a weapon. Claire's eyes narrowed. Without another word, she reached behind her back. And in a single, fluid motion, tossed a metal object onto the ground. It landed with a heavy thud, her old military challenge coin, stamped with her Green Beret unit insignia. The man's grin faded as Claire stepped closer, her voice just above a whisper. "Walk away. Now." The bullies hesitated, exchanging uneasy glances. They didn't understand why, but instinct told them this wasn't just some ordinary single mom. One by one, they backed off, muttering under their breath as they disappeared into the dark. But Claire knew this wasn't over. They'd be back. And next time, she'd be ready. 2 nights later, just past midnight, Claire woke to the sound of engines rumbling down the dirt road leading to her farmhouse. Headlights cut across her bedroom wall, and she instantly knew they were back. But this time, they weren't alone. A convoy of 3 trucks rolled to a stop at the edge of her property, carrying 8 men. HOA Security Committee members and a few hired muscle from out of town. Their laughter echoed in the darkness, but this time, Claire wasn't just defending herself. She was defending her home, her son, and her freedom. She moved silently through the house, her footsteps calculated and deliberate. She didn't need a weapon to create fear, she needed strategy. From her closet, she retrieved a small black duffel bag, untouched for years. Inside were relics of her past life, a lightweight night vision scope, military-grade flashbangs, and a carefully folded sniper's ghillie veil. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, one last mission. Outside, the men fanned out across her yard, smashing bottles, kicking over her planters, and shouting threats. But Claire had already disappeared into the shadows. Every step they took, she predicted. Every careless noise they made, she mapped in her mind. She used the moonlight, the terrain, and the wind like old allies. Slipping through the darkness like a ghost. Suddenly, the silence shattered. A deafening bang erupted as a flashbang detonated behind the lead truck, sending the men stumbling, disoriented and blinded. From somewhere in the trees, Claire's voice cut through the chaos. "You're on private property. Leave, now." The leader of the group, the same smug man from before, yelled back angrily, but his voice cracked with fear. They couldn't see her, couldn't hear her footsteps, but they knew she was there. When another flashbang went off closer this time, panic set in. One by one, the men retreated, dragging their injured friend back to the trucks. Within minutes, the entire convoy vanished into the night, leaving only tire marks in the dirt. Claire stood silently on her porch, scanning the horizon. She didn't celebrate. She didn't relax. Because deep down, she knew the HOA wouldn't let this go quietly. The war had only just begun. By sunrise, the farmhouse looked peaceful again, but Claire knew better, the real battle was just beginning. The HOA filed an official complaint against her the very next morning, accusing her of violent intimidation and creating a hostile environment. They demanded $25,000 in damages and threatened to involve law enforcement. To them, Claire was the villain. To the bullies, she was a problem that needed to be removed. But Claire wasn't intimidated, not anymore. She hired a quiet, sharp-witted attorney who specialized in exposing HOA corruption. Over the next several weeks, her lawyer uncovered a disturbing trail of evidence, embezzled HOA funds, illegal fines, and a private scheme to buy Claire's land for pennies and sell it to a developer. The harassment had never been about her garden, her chickens, or her messy property. It was about money. They wanted her gone so they could profit. Armed with proof, Claire took her case to court. And the entire town watched as the truth came out. One by one, the HOA board members were forced to resign. The so-called security committee was disbanded. And the smug leader who had spray-painted her fence. He faced criminal trespassing charges and a restraining order that banned him from coming within a mile of her property. But here's the part no one expected. Once word got out about Claire's military background, her story went viral. Reporters swarmed her driveway, veterans reached out in support, and strangers from around the country praised her courage. The same HOA that had once tried to destroy her reputation was now buried under a mountain of lawsuits and public outrage. Claire finally got to enjoy the quiet life she had fought so hard to protect. But she kept her old duffel bag tucked away, just in case. Because if there's one thing she learned from her past, and from this HOA nightmare, it's that peace must be defended. And if you've ever faced an HOA nightmare, we want to hear your story. Drop your experience in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe to HOA Case Files for more shocking, real-life stories just like this one.